I want you to open a map. Look at the Gulf of Mexico. Go 70 miles west of Key West, Florida, into the open, violent ocean. You will find a barren, underwater reef known as the Dry Tortugas. No soil, no resources, absolutely no fresh water. And yet, official history claims that on this isolated, hurricane-battered sandbar, a financially strained 19th century government constructed the largest masonry structure in the Americas, a mathematically perfect hexagonal star fort, composed of 16 million individual bricks. We are told these bricks were transported entirely on wooden sailing ships, unloaded by hand, and assembled directly in the middle of the ocean by men with wooden tools. The maritime logistics are statistically impossible. The geometric precision on a shifting sand foundation defies physical engineering, and the fresh water required to mix the mortar simply does not exist.
When auditing any structural anomaly, we must begin at the base. Before a single brick is laid, a foundation must be established. According to the official narrative, the United States military decided to build Fort Jefferson, a massive three-tiered coastal defense fortress on Garden Key. Garden Key is not an island of solid rock. It is a shifting, unstable accumulation of coral rubble and sand, subject to the violent eroding currents of the Gulf. Consider the engineering required. To support the catastrophic dead weight of 16 million bricks, plus heavy iron cannons, the foundation must be absolutely rigid. If the foundation settles unevenly by even 2 inches, the rigid brick masonry above will fracture, crack, and collapse under its own weight. Today, modern engineers struggle to build stable foundations on coastal sand, using deep-driven steel pylons, hydraulic pumps, and reinforced concrete. We are instructed to believe the engineers of 1846 achieved geometric perfection using manual labor and basic masonry while standing in the ocean. The ledger claims they spent years laying a perimeter of coral concrete, but water is the absolute enemy of 19th century construction. You cannot pour lime-based mortar into the churning ocean and expect it to set. It washes away. To build a foundation below the waterline, you must create a dry environment. You need massive cofferdams. You need industrial steam pumps to constantly evacuate the encroaching seawater. None of this industrial infrastructure is adequately accounted for in the historical timeline. Look at the aerial geometry. It is a perfect hexagon, 6 massive walls converging at precise angles, mathematically aligned. Maintaining surveyor accuracy of this level is difficult on flat, dry land. Maintaining it on a sinking sandbar while fighting ocean tides borders on fiction. You do not build a precision astronomical instrument in a swamp, and you do not build a 16 million brick star fort on a moving reef. Unless the foundation was already there, carved into the bedrock long before the official narrative began.
But let us grant them their impossible foundation. Let us audit the materials. 16 million bricks. It is easy for a historian to write this number. It is much harder to transport it. An average 19th century red clay brick, when combined with its required mortar, represents a structural weight of approximately 5 pounds. 16 million bricks equates to 80 million pounds of masonry. That is 40,000 tons of dead weight. In the mid-19th century, there were no diesel cargo freighters. The supply chain relied exclusively on wooden sailing ships, at the absolute mercy of the wind. The bricks did not come from a local quarry, because there is no clay in the Florida Keys. Official records state the bricks were manufactured in Pensacola, Florida, and shipped across the Gulf. Later, bricks were shipped all the way from Maine, over 1,500 miles away. A standard two-masted cargo schooner of the 1850s could carry roughly 150 tons of dense cargo. Bricks are not like cotton. They are a dead, shifting weight. If a ship carrying bricks takes on water, it sinks instantly. To transport 40,000 tons of brick requires 266 fully loaded schooner voyages. But ships must also carry drinking water, food, lumber, and iron. Furthermore, factor in a 20% loss rate for fragile bricks breaking in transit during ocean storms. The actual number of voyages required easily exceeds 400. Imagine the logistics at the destination. The Dry Tortugas is a shallow reef. Deep draft cargo ships cannot pull right up to the sand. Therefore, the heavy ships had to anchor in deeper water. Every single one of those 16 million bricks had to be manually offloaded from the large ship, placed onto smaller shallow draft boats, rowed to the sandbar, and unloaded by hand, again. Think about the labor hours. If a team of men working in the brutal Florida sun could somehow unload, row, and stack 10,000 bricks a day, it would take them 1,600 consecutive days of labor just to get the bricks onto the island. That is over 4.5 years of nothing but unloading boats. And this is just to get the materials to the job site. They still have to build the fortress.
The transportation numbers are absurd, but the bricks are merely a distraction. The true, catastrophic failure of the official narrative lies in the chemistry. You cannot stack 16 million bricks dry. They must be bound together by mortar. In the 19th century, structural mortar was made from quicklime, sand, and water. But not just any water. You must use fresh water. If you mix mortar with seawater, you trigger a chemical disaster known as efflorescence. The heavy salt content prevents the lime from curing properly. Worse, as the water evaporates, the salt forms expanding crystals inside the mortar joints. These salt crystals literally blow the masonry apart from the inside out. A fortress built with saltwater mortar will crumble to dust in a matter of decades. The engineers of the 1800s knew this perfectly well. It is fundamental architectural law. Here is the anomaly. The Dry Tortugas translates literally to the dry turtles. There are no lakes, there are no rivers, there are no underground freshwater springs. It is a completely dry rock surrounded by salt water. So how do you mix thousands of tons of mortar for 16 million bricks without fresh water? The official history has a convenient answer. They claim the engineers built an ingenious system of massive cisterns right into the brick walls to catch and filter rainwater. Do you see the logical paradox? To catch enough rainwater to build the fort, you need massive brick cisterns. But to build the brick cisterns, you need mortar. And to make the mortar, you need fresh water. It is an impossible loop. You cannot catch rain until you build the structure. You cannot build the structure without rain. Did they import the water? Let us audit that ledger.
Mixing thousands of tons of mortar requires millions of gallons of fresh water. Water weighs 8.3 pounds per gallon. Transporting millions of gallons of water in wooden barrels across the Gulf of Mexico would require hundreds of additional voyages. The official records do not show a massive, continuous armada of water ships supplying the Dry Tortugas. The math fails. The chemistry fails. The official story is a fabrication.
If the fort could not be built as a military installation in 1846, what is it? To answer this, we must look at the shape. Fort Jefferson is not unique. The star fort configuration, these massive, geometrically perfect, multi-pointed polygons, are found all over the world, in Japan, in the Netherlands, in South Africa, in Russia. All built with the exact same impossible precision, almost always surrounded by water, and all attributed to local colonists with wheelbarrows. Why this specific shape? Military historians claim the star shape eliminates blind spots for cannon fire. But look at them from above. They do not look like military installations. They look like cymatic frequencies captured in stone. Cymatics is the study of visible sound. When you pass specific acoustic frequencies through water or sand, the vibrations automatically organize the matter into complex, perfect geometric patterns, hexagons, stars, snowflakes. The star forts are exact physical replicas of these high-frequency acoustic patterns. Many independent researchers now postulate that these structures were never designed for warfare. They were old-world infrastructure, resonators. Situated directly on water, these geometric arrays were likely designed to structure, purify, or draw energetic potential from the water itself, utilizing atmospheric energy and acoustic resonance. The cannons were added later. The military simply found an ancient, defunct energy center, knocked out a few walls, installed primitive iron cannons in the windows, and called it a fort. When the official math fails on every single metric, tonnage, transportation, chemistry, and labor, we must discard the narrative. They tell us they spent 30 years, endless millions of dollars, and thousands of lives building a fortress that was militarily obsolete before it was even finished. That is not construction. That is a cover story. They did not build Fort Jefferson. They inherited it. The 19th century government excavated it from the reef. They laid a few top layers of brick and claimed the entirety of the structural achievement for themselves. And when the public asked how such a marvel was built in the middle of the ocean, they wrote a ledger filled with ghost ships, phantom water, and impossible labor. They banked on the fact that no one would ever do the math. But mathematics does not lie. The bricks are too heavy. The water is too dry. The anomaly is real. The next time you look at a historical monument, do not read the bronze plaque. Look at the masonry. Look at the infrastructure. Do the math yourself. The narrative relies entirely on your blind acceptance of their numbers.